If you've ever tried to launch a big idea, then you'd agree with me that getting funding for a startup can be really hard. Ask most entrepreneurs what their biggest business barriers are, and they would unanimously echo a lack of funding. It gets even harder when there is no existing product or prototype. Like most entrepreneurs, Vlad Tenev and his friend Baiju Bhatt were in the same shoe, in search of funding for their idea, Robinhood. They literally had to slice through rejection upon rejection until they got their big break. Today, Robinhood, the commission-free stock trading app, is making headlines on media outlets. From multiple reviews by bloggers to how-to videos by YouTubers, this app has been particularly alluring to young traders who want a piece of the stock market. Whilst Robinhood has grown to become a household name, very little is often said about how the company scaled through multiple rejections. Tenev and Bhatt have succeeded in building an empire worth around $7.6 billion. But before there was an empire, they had to go through 75 rejections. Talk about persistence. In today's video, we will explore Robinhood's story and pick a lesson or two. Let's get it on. The Robinhood story began over a decade ago when Vlad Tenev and Baiju Bhatt met at Stanford as roommates and classmates. In 2008, they both went to grad school. During their time in grad school, they witnessed the collapse of Lehman Brothers that changed the entire dynamics of the financial market. Baiju managed to persuade his friend to start a trading firm, and after graduation, the duo packed their bags for New York. They started a little trading firm, built 2 finance companies, and started selling trading software to hedge funds. With their newfound experience in the world of finance, they began to spot some loopholes in the stock market. First, they realized that major Wall Street firms paid almost nothing to trade stocks. Meanwhile, customers are typically charged a commission for every trade. There's also a general misconception that the stock market is reserved for the rich and affluent. Thanks to hard-to-access stock trading portals like E-Trade and Fidelity, most Americans were reluctant to enter the space. As of 2014, less than 14% of US households owned stocks. CNN infamously cited that more people owned cats than they had positions in public markets. In addition to the high entry barrier, the duo also sought to use technology, particularly smartphones, to make the stock market more accessible. Speaking to Business Insider on how they started, Tenev said, "It became clear to us that the smartphone would be your primary tool for accessing the markets and doing financial transactions in general. When we looked at the space and we compared what we saw with the institutional world, where maybe firms were placing millions of trades per day at effectively no cost, we realized that from a technology standpoint, that's not that different from millions of customers placing trades per day, and that we could offer that at low cost by leveraging that same automation." Armed with this knowledge, Tenev and Bhatt decided it was time to build a product that would allow anyone to access the financial markets. 2 years after moving to New York, they moved back to California to build Robinhood. And this is how the company was founded. Now, here's the interesting part. Robinhood didn't get funding right away. They were trying to do something that had never been done, and no investor was ready to fund a rather ambitious project. To operate in the stock market, there are capital requirements. Regulators need to see some amount of capital before they give the approval to launch a financial service. On the flip side, investors needed to be sure that the business will get regulatory approval before funding the idea. It was a really dicey one for the founders, but they persisted and kept on knocking on doors. Speaking on this, Tenev says, "There were a lot of people who just didn't believe in it, and we had to bang down a ton of doors, and we were really relentless. We probably knocked on 75 doors before we actually made it work." And after 75 rejections, Tenev and Bhatt finally did it. They managed to close a seed round of around $3 million, led by Index, Google Ventures, Andreessen Horowitz, and the rest, like they say, was history. Following Robinhood's story to fame and success, there are 4 important marketing lessons every entrepreneur needs to learn. 1. Build anticipation. Before Robinhood launched, the app already had nearly 1 million users signed up. Talk about killing your marketing game. Brands like Apple have mastered the anticipation game, and this is why they get tons of customers queuing up for a new product release. Even though the founders had very little experience with mobile app development and consumer product development, they still managed to pull it off by building anticipation. First, they delivered a VIP experience to would-be customers with an invite-only early access and a waitlist feature. The rather sleek trader interface was visually appealing and caught the attention of 600,000 people. They also gamified the waiting experience. Back in 2014, the ability to see your rank for access was so much of a big deal. And this seriously drove the virality of Robinhood. To be honest though, the team wasn't expecting their app to gain so much traction in such a short time. They got their major break from Hacker News. Somehow, a piece of news titled "Robinhood Free Stock Trading" made it to the top 3 spot on Hacker News. About 35 minutes after making it to the 3rd spot, the news on the app hit number 1 on Hacker News. Funny, but this was the entire boost Robinhood needed. As an entrepreneur, you may not need multiple runs. One home run may be all you need to change your entire trajectory and scoreboard. By the end of the first day, after the article was published, Robinhood had around 10,000 signups and over 50,000 signups by the first week. A year later, the app had almost 1 million signups, even though it was yet to launch its product. The time between the announcement and public launch was almost a year and a half. The lesson here is that you should never downplay the power of the media when building anticipation. No one is going to buy your mind-blowing product if they don't know about it. You don't need to spend a lot of money on advertising or on press releases. If you have the funds for it, feel free to spread the word. However, if you don't, there are other ways to build anticipation. A simple countdown with some activity goes a long way. Robinhood was able to build anticipation through its VIP waiting list and gamified waiting experience. Number 2. Have a clean message. Robinhood has a very clear message, and they used their public launch to take a stance. They identified a villain, which was to take on the giants and to make the stock market accessible to all, not just the wealthy. Their website had a very clear and simple description saying, "Commission-free trading, stop paying up to $10 per trade." Robinhood's message resonated well with all those who felt neglected, and this grounded it in a mission of building a solution for everyone. If you are going to be building a business or launching a new product, you need to have a clear message. Without a clear and compelling message, you won't be able to connect with customers, investors, or the press. People won't be bothered to learn more about your offering. Moreover, if you're unable to influence how people see your product, the market will make up its own version of your story, which may not match your vision. It's a common tendency for founders, especially technical founders, to describe their products with features that excite them, instead of focusing on their customers. Sadly, customers are not interested in what excites you. Does your message touch their pain points? Does it get to their hearts and touch on the benefits it will bring to their lives? Number 3. Capitalize on data and drive momentum. Stating your mission and having everyone believe in it is one thing. It's a different ball game to move the market. As of 2016, the number of households that owned stock had risen to 51% from 14% in 2014. In 2017, Robinhood raised almost $2 million and changed their message to the world's fastest-growing brokerage, democratizing America's financial system. They expanded to more countries, including China, and hired a former Adidas marketing executive as its first head of marketing. Robinhood capitalized on the momentum it got from Hacker News, and this allowed them to win. The moment the company was deemed a unicorn by Silicon Valley standards, they made an announcement every 3 months on average. The lesson here is to keep your audience engaged. Number 4. Keep it simple. One mistake most entrepreneurs make is in trying to offer too much at the same time. If the process can be simpler, then make it simpler. Traditionally, setting up a financial account to buy stocks is cumbersome and time-consuming. Prior to this time, you'd have to go in person, fill out some forms, talk to a person, and then wait for them to get back to you. This process takes anything from 2 to 3 weeks before you can buy your first stock. The advent of online brokerages didn't also solve this problem. Although forms were now online, the process behind the scenes was still the same. You'd still have to wait a week or two before you can purchase your first stock. What Robinhood brought was an experience that allowed anyone to become a stock owner almost instantaneously. I'd have to be honest, the Robinhood website is pretty basic, but customers will pick basic and simple over a complex and nice interface any day. In the words of Tenev, you're usually downloading Robinhood precisely because you want to do something. Something gives you the idea. You want to buy a stock. Let's download Robinhood to do it. So removing that friction is just categorically a good thing. The brokerages might say, we slow down the process so that you can make sure you're making a well-informed, deliberate decision. But that's just a load of crap. They slow it down because they don't have engineers, they don't have the ability to make an awesome user experience, and it's not a priority. So, as much as possible, try to keep your product simple. In conclusion, the process of building something big takes a really long time. It also requires a lot of passion and patience. Don't expect your business idea to become an instant hit. You may have to face several rejections, but if you keep at it long enough, you will definitely win.